This is my Logos copy of Morphology of Biblical Greek by Mounce, and just wanted to kind of show you how it works. If we go over here into the nouns, which we're looking at, Introduction to Nouns, this kind of gives you a little bit of a preview, points out some helpful tools, but you can see here in the outline, there are only 3 types of nouns. So pattern 1, pattern 2, pattern 3. Pattern 1 is first declension, pattern 2 is second declension, pattern 3 is third declension. There are no more declensions to learn. This is it. Now, as I mentioned before, the first declension is a little bit broader than what we've learned so far. It is obviously made up of the feminine nouns, and by far, feminine is the most common gender in first declension, but there are masculine nouns in the first declension. It's just that these nouns are so rare that it's not worth having to learn those endings in a separate chart because you're just not going to need to refer to them often enough. There are a handful of masculine first declension nouns that you can memorize without having to learn a whole new chart. But the most prominent example of this that we're going to run into is the noun 1D, which are masculine nouns with stems and actually this is not the one I'm thinking of. Here we go. Noun 1F. Masculine nouns with stems ending in eta sigma and a genitive in oo. And of course the example here is prophetes. Prophetes is masculine noun. It means prophet. And you can see that masculine come out in the genitive singular, prophetu. All right, but technically speaking, this follows first declension because the stem ends in an eta. And by definition, if the stem ends in eta, it's going to be a first declension noun. So prophete is the stem. Prophete, propheti, prophetu, prophetone. So that's what's going on here. And if we want to take a look at these, actually, we can just go here. We see prophetes, prophetu, prophete, prophetane. And then propheti, prophetone, prophetis, prophetos. This is a masculine noun in first declension. All right, now obviously there are some differences. First declension doesn't have this oo suffix in the genitive singular. This is something that we've seen in the masculine and in the neuter second declension. But if we look at this footnote here, first declension masculine nouns do not use sigma for the genitive singular, as do the feminine, in order to avoid the confusion with the nominative singular. If this were to use the sigma, it would be prophetu. If we were to use the sigma, which most of the first declension feminine nouns do, it would be prophetes. But obviously, nominative singular is prophetes. So it wants to use this oo to avoid confusion. Otherwise, the genitive singular and the nominative singular would look identical. All right. But that's just a taste of, you have seen the bulk of first declension forms. I just want you to be aware that there are some masculine nouns that are technically first declension. It's just that there's so few that it isn't worth us learning a separate chart for them. So basically what Mounce has done is taken the feminine first declension column and inserted it into the second declension chart because, as we can see here, second declension has masculine and neuter, but second declension does have feminine nouns as well. But these feminine nouns are so rare in the second declension. The most prominent example is the word he hadas, which I think you've had already. They're so rare that it's not worth learning a separate chart for. You might as well just take this column out, insert the feminine first declension column into this chart, and that's why we get a 2-1-2 noun chart. Because we can just memorize the exceptions. Hadas is a word that we can memorize. So hadas is feminine, he hadas. But because the stem ends in an omicron, by definition, that is second declension. So even though it's feminine, because the stem ends in an omicron, it has to be second declension. And so it's going to decline like a second declension noun. Hadas, hadu, hado, hadon, hadoi, hadon, hadois, hadus. The declension here looks exactly like a second declension masculine would look. But hadas is not masculine. It is feminine. It has a feminine article. So that's another just sort of, I want to, show you the idea here behind what we're learning. There are no more declensions. It is first declension, second declension, third declension. Yes, there are some rare words that we haven't talked about yet that fit into each of these categories, but you now have all of the broad categories, and you have the most common forms of those. So third declension, we've already talked about several of these. Stems ending in a labial, that's where the air of the sound is stopped by your lips. So that's going to be ending in a P, B, phi sound. I should say P beta phi. Velar, that's where it stops in the back of your throat. So that's K, G, and H. And then dentals, T, D, and Th. We've already had these, okay? There are some other unusual situations that you might find with third declension. So when a stem ends in sigma, what happens then? Let's see, what is an example it gives of that? Have we seen any of these? We've not seen genos yet, but that is a common one that we will see at some point. Melos is another common one that we will see at some point. Eleos, mercy, that's one to take note of. Let's see here. Zelos, zeal. Skuos is, I don't think you'll get that in first year, but if you take second year, you'll probably get skuos. That means instrument. Bathos, I think bathos is weight, something like that. Glucose, sweet or sugar. Ethnos, that one is one that you need to be aware of. Auros, this is one that you'll probably run into. Pseudos is a lie. Plathos, I think this is fullness. Ophelos is benefit. You'll see this, for example, in James. What is the benefit, my brothers? If someone says that they have faith but do not have works. Etos, pretty common word. Pathos, telos. So these are relatively common, but this is a pretty exhaustive list here. You're not going to, I mean, you can fit all of the exception or all of these unique situations here. So all that to say, there are thousands of Greek nouns that you're not going to have to know. They're just not in the New Testament. And those that follow these exceptions are a relatively small number. So you won't need to worry about the unique changes to the third declension pattern that these words bring in first year. You might see some of these in second year, but the whole point of me showing you this is to let you know that yes, there are some more tricky things that can happen. For example, stems ending in a semivowel. The primary example here is going to be pistis, which I think we've had already. Let me see if I can pull that up. Basilus, king. Polis is city. Where is pistis? Here we go. So pistis belongs to N3E, which is what we're talking about, but it's subsection 5B, which is stems ending in iota, consonantal iota, with ablaut, which means that the vowel length is going to change. So all that to say, there are still miniature rules. There are still little exceptions to be aware of, but by far you've got the bulk of what you need to know as far as nouns and how they decline. So just wanted to, I hope that's reassuring that we're at the end of having to memorize noun case endings. You've got what you need to memorize. As we continue in the next few lessons, there will be words like pistis or elpis that are going to have some variation on third declension, but they still belong to third declension. All right. Hope that's helpful for you. If you have any questions, send them my way. Thanks, guys.